Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. What is high-trust remote signing and how it can benefit your business? Our speaker for today, Geoff, Customer Success Manager from Ascertia. My name is Phoebe. I'm the Regional Marketing Manager at Thales. As a reminder, today's TED Talk is a part of the Crypto Summit of Thales, our global two-day virtual summit on a broad range of crypto topics. So please take advantage of the expertise offered in these two other sessions. Before we start, I would like to discuss a couple of housekeeping items. This webinar will be recorded, so if you need to leave this webinar at any time, you can still catch up where you left off. Throughout the webinar, if you have any questions, please type them in the questions window, and we will try to answer them during the Q&A session in the end of the webinar. The presentation deck and other useful resources are available for you to download on the download tab. Now, I would like to pass this time to our speaker, Geoff.
So, hello, everyone. Yes, I'm Geoff Bartlett. I'm a Customer Success Manager with Ascertia. I've been with the company for around 2 years now. I come from a technical background, consultancy and delivery. I moved into PKI infrastructure when I joined Ascertia, and it's been a very interesting experience ever since. Obviously, the world of PKI infrastructure is quite complex. It's a fairly niche market. And we spend a lot of time talking to our customers about why they need to move into the world of digital cryptography, using digital certificates to provide trust when signing documents. To that end, I'm going to run you through some slides around the topics that we're going to cover today, and then show a short demo of the actual application in use. We're going to run through the whole remote signing process. At the end of that, as Phoebe said, yeah, we'll open it up to Q&A session. Please put your questions into the chat, and we'll be able to pick them up at the end. So what I'm going to talk today is about how organizations can start using high trust remote signing to empower their business. So obviously, as we've moved forward with the current situations and world climate in terms of our restricted movements, and we more and more adopt that kind of working from home methodology and being able to work whilst out and about and on the move, we need technology to adapt and work with us. With Ascertia, obviously, we have a group of people who are very enthusiastic about PKI infrastructure. We've been running since around 2001, and we specialize in the digital trust intelligence arena. We actually have certain members of the higher level management team, the directors and owners and things like that are actually part of the ETSI task forces, who help write the standards that we all have to adhere to in terms of cryptography and digital signing. That gives us a very unique position here at Ascertia. I'm working with Thales to mean that we can see what's happening, how these kind of standards are evolving, and we can adapt our products in advance of the standards coming into place, so we're ready for them and we're at the pinnacle of our area. Obviously, we need to understand the fact that there are lots of ways that people are accessing documents. Okay, it could be using web browsers, mobile phones, browsers on the phones, and we need to take all of that into account. So obviously, all of the products are supported across the range of devices. In terms of document management, we can do signing. There's long-term archiving. We're making sure that we can do things like notoriety, and that is supporting that really, really long-term archive functionality. Obviously, we're specializing around the high trust digital certificate arena. That's not to say that the lower trust areas aren't important too. It very much depends on your needs. And of course, we have to take into account the data that we're signing as well. So some of it may be internal information, intellectual property that we just need to keep secure and make sure that it's validated and stamped with a digital certificate and a timestamp at the time it was created. Other documents we're sharing out with people in the outside world and the internet, our customers and partners. And we need to make sure that not only can we sign that data, but obviously they can too. We also specialize in the arena of the email security, so providing SMIME certificates and making sure that our email is secure and that we can send encrypted email. So before we move on to the actual kind of standards and how we look at things, we need to look at the different types of business document that need signing. So in the corporate area, there may be things like partnership agreements, they're all letters of intent, non-disclosure agreements, business plans, very focused business kind of material. Obviously, the sales teams and the sales and marketing arenas move slightly. Obviously, we have things like sales contracts, purchase orders, invoices, quotations. Maybe you're going to need documents signed within HR or the human resources teams, okay? Things like timesheets, employee letters, contract letters, holiday request forms, sickness. And then our day-to-day operation. Maybe we've got service level agreements we need to share out with our partners and customers. Maybe there's risk management, test plans, project reports, technical reports, proposal documents, things like that. So there's lots of different types of documents that are going to need signing. And obviously, traditionally, that was a long and complicated process of actually having to print it out, provide wet signatures, maybe post these documents through to our third parties who would have to sign them and then return them. And then they'd have to be stored physically in storage. If you ever needed to access them, they need to be reclaimed from storage. It's not efficient use of everyone's time. So as we move to this more connected and digital world, everyone needs access to everything all the time, and ideally from anywhere. And that's why we support it over browsers and mobile devices as well. So there are a couple of key considerations that we need for an effective e-signature takeoff. Okay, we've got to consider the fact that we have a trust area. So we need to be able to work out what we need to do in terms of trust. The idea is that we're binding that user identity to a document. That document is then locked and it prevents changes from being made to it after it's signed. And in terms of doing that, we need to prove with a high level of confidence to people both within our organizations and outside that only the person that's shown as the signer could have signed that document. At the same time, there is a cost aspect to this. Okay, obviously, we have these physical processes in place at the moment. Maybe you're using hardware tokens, but we can start to move into a digital arena. Okay, where we can start to use either a cloud service. We can move away from using physical tokens and use server-side held tokens, which we authorize access to through our mobile devices. That's bringing down costs. Okay, there's no more time spent creating and issuing smart cards. Those people that lose the smart cards, obviously there's an admin aspect to that of reissuing, replacing them, the amount of time that they're not going to be able to sign documents because they're waiting for new technology to arrive to them. And obviously we've got to include that user experience as well. So the ability to sign anytime, anywhere, on any device, supporting those real life use cases. So maybe we've got people that are out of the office and they've gone on leave. We need to be able to delegate that signing. If there's someone that's responsible for signing off a large amount of documents, making sure that experience is nice and smooth for them, and they can maybe bulk sign a large amount of documents all at once. And obviously the ability to share documents within a group and templates and the way we all work together so we can collaborate more closely. The idea is that we need to take in that trust, cost, and that user experience and bring them together to end up in a kind of spot in the middle where we hit our sweet spot and we get everything we want from the technology. When we look at the signing process, there are obviously 7 stages that we've identified to that. First up, we have the user authentication. We need to make sure that's secure. Okay, and it may be via a single factor, multi-factor authentication. Maybe we're using SAML via third-party IDPs that we can integrate in, a local Active Directory system, again, making it nice and secure while making sure that user experience is nice and smooth. We then need to confirm that the user is providing consent willfully, maybe providing them with a legal notice before they have to sign so they can check the terms and conditions, and acknowledging the fact that they accept those terms and conditions and recording that action too. When we're providing the signature, we need to make sure that it kind of represents what we're used to. We are all very much used to signing physical documents with what we refer to as wet signatures, so using ink on paper. So we try and replicate that experience as closely as we can within the SigningHub application, and that uses the user signature mark. So they have the ability to either draw their own signature if they have a touchscreen device or a device with a pen. If they don't have that, then there's got to be other options. We use things like text. You can control the font. So you can have a very plain font, or you could have something that's maybe a little bit more like handwriting in terms of a font. And of course, the traditional uploading of an image. That replicates what we used to have as the wet signature. Okay, but it's very important because people still look for that on documents. Once we've considered that side of things, we need to work out how we bind that signer's identity to a document. So if we're using digital signatures, we're going to use personal PKI keys or private keys that are held very securely within hardware security modules or HSMs. They're held within a server environment, potentially. They could be held locally or on a mobile device. Either way, we need to prove that we've got that sole control over access to that signing key. And that's where the remote authorized signing part comes in. All of that is logged and available as a signed PDF or an XML report. And I will show you what we call the workflow evidence report at the end of the signing demonstration. What's equally important is once we've done our signing operations, that we certify and lock the signatures. So any form fields within the document can't be edited at a later point. And that we're only providing that signing in predefined fields. So people can't start moving things around or signing pages where they shouldn't be. We're controlling that whole aspect. The embedded evidence reporting, again, this workflow reporting, will show who signed, where, when, and how, and what the signature status of the signer was at the time of signing, which is very important for that legal compliance and evidence aspect. We've also got to consider long-term validation. So our signing certificates may be only valid for a year, possibly 2 years. What happens if someone opens that document or goes to review that document in 3 to 15 years' time? That's where we need to start considering how we do that long-term validation, potentially via a timestamp or archiving or LTAN service. So we can provide that extra validation for a longer period of time past when the initial signing certificate would have expired. So there are 2 ways of doing this. And as I said, we do focus at Ascertia around the high trust side of things, but obviously we do support low trust as well. So you've got basic electronic signatures. They're still very useful. Okay. What they're effectively doing is taking an organization level certificate and using that to witness the signer signing a document. So yeah, we can put a nice signature on it. Okay, we can still provide our wet signature, maybe a logo and details of who it was signed by and when, but that's going to effectively just be witnessed by a corporate enterprise certificate or corporate certificate. So that is going to make sure that the document can't be changed without detection. It is being digitally signed using that corporate key. The downside of this is the user is not, when they're authenticated, isn't bound with that particular signature. So it's not their certificate. It is a corporate one. So whilst it is very useful, it's not as high trust as we can look at. Where we like to focus is around the advanced and qualified electronic signatures. So again, you get that same kind of visual interpretation of it within the document. But in this case, that user identity is bound to the document. So no one else can sign on behalf of me. Now, I'm using my own private key that is held within that HSM. It's being accessed, used by my authorized device. I'm providing that authorization to use my signing key personal to me in that operation. And we can see all of that information when we look at the cryptographic details behind the signature. Again, in the same way as basic signatures, that document can't be changed without detection. But this way, only the signer can be shown as having signed that document. There's no way that it could be misinterpreted or seen otherwise someone else has done it on their behalf. Okay, so it's got that higher trust, higher level of integrity. The other advantage around using advanced qualified signatures is that we don't look and start to face the problem that we have with local signing. So yes, lots of organizations, we still have smart cards or USB tokens in which we need to sign. Okay, that's extra levels of complexity. You need extra hardware. Okay, if you haven't got your smart card reader available or it fails on your device, then you can't sign anything. Likewise, if you're using your mobile device and you're out and about, how do you connect a USB token to that? So there's no need for hardware, no need for smart card reader tokens or readers. You don't need to start installing software and drivers and things like that. Obviously, it's very difficult to use on mobile devices, and using local signing methods like smart cards and USB tokens can be very expensive. If you lose those tokens, you've lost your electronic identification. Okay, there is no way of signing. You've got to wait for a new one to be issued. That obviously can be quite a slow, laborious, time-consuming, and expensive process. So, as an alternative to this local signing, using remote signing does give us some benefits. Everything's held in the cloud. Yeah, it's all server-side. Yeah, and it's all held within secure HSMs and encrypted databases. We don't need any special hardware. There's no need for special software. It will be accessed by standard browsers. There's no need for drivers or apps or plugins. You can just sign anywhere at any time. All of the keys are held centrally. So when we're doing our administration of this, we can administer everything nice and easily. There's no tokens that can get lost. If anything, it does get lost, we've got it all centrally. We can revoke those tokens, expire them, reissue new ones nice and quickly and easily. Because we're using one central system, we also benefit from better security. So we can define security policies, control all of those centrally. Again, that same centralized system means that we have that detailed auditing. All of the user actions are being recorded centrally and we can report on them. Because having a consolidated system, as we all know, reduces costs, both operational and capital costs. So the way that Ascertia work with our technology and with the HSMs that we support, they are common criteria EAL4 as compliant, which means they do comply to the EN 419-241-1-2 and EN 419-211-5 standards. This is incredibly important. These are all around making sure that we have that level 1 and level 2 sole control over the signing keys. So the way this would work is that a user would be on their application, maybe that's SigningHub or another third-party application we can now tie into using CSC, so I'll talk about a little bit later. When they make that signing request, the signing request goes through to the document workflow infrastructure, so whatever's controlling and managing the signing keys, so that may be your signing solution and the HSMs. An authorization request is generated with that trusted path to the registered device that we have, in which we allow access to our keys. Now I'll show you our application. It does support passcode, Face ID, and Touch ID in order to provide that biometric security to prove that you have access to that key. The authorization response passes back through to the signing solution. The signing solution allows the release of the private keys, and they're used within the signing operation. Once that's done, they're nice and securely stored back within our HSMs. The signing solution will then sign the document, and the user gets a nice signature on their document with their own digital key. So Ascertia were the first globally to market with a certified QSD remote signing product. This was our ADSS Server SAM appliance. You can see the SAM appliance is actually a physical hardware box. It's capable of running the SAM service, part of our SigningHub, our ADSS Server PKI engine suite. And within that is an HSM. The moment that could be Thales or other vendors. We are moving towards Thales at the moment, though, as our preferred partner with that. So the SAM appliance is effectively a tamper-proof box. If you try to interrupt it in any way by maybe opening it or interfering with it, plugging in extra devices, it can be configured to wipe itself. So if you remove the case, anything within it is gone. So it's a tamper-proof environment, and that's what makes it compliant with this common criteria standard. If you want more information about that, we do have the full certification reports and the security targets from the certification body, the common criteria certification body. They're available to download from the OCSI website at your convenience. If you'd like any more detailed information, we've actually done compliance mapping exercises against the EN 419241-1, 2, and 5 standards, and we can share those documents with you. It actually shows you how the software works in unison with the hardware to provide that tamper-proof environment. So let's have a look now at the remote signing interoperability. Okay, this moves us into what we refer to as CSC, or the Cloud Signature Consortium. Again, Ascertia are one of the championing organizations within this consortium of signing solution providers. The idea behind it is that whatever your user environment, you can connect through the internet to whatever business application you use for signing. That is coded with the CSC client APIs, which allows it to work interoperably with any sort of back-end API remote signing platform infrastructure. So all of a sudden, means we can start implementing things like our ADSS server, PKI engine, with the SAM appliance, and we can start providing signing operations, not only to our own application, SigningHub, but we can start to provide those things like Adobe Sign and other third-party CSC-enabled business applications too. So it's a unique set of APIs. I think there's about 12 or 13 in total at the moment that are shared, and it allows us to start using different front-end business applications with different back-end PKI infrastructure to control the signing operations. It's very powerful. It is quite new. There's always changes going on with it, and we again are leading that and driving the standards there. In terms of the trust service providers in your region that are currently relying on Ascertia, it's one of those strange things. Obviously, we provide the technology. It can all be rebranded quite often. It sits behind the scenes and no one even knows we're really there. So within your region, the names that you'd probably know are DigiCert, Global Sign, Savis are a great partner and actually one of my accounts. I work very closely with them. They've been asking for lots of these compliancy mapping documents recently. Trust Data Card and TrustGate. And here you can see the different types of technologies they're actually using. Of course, there are lots of other TSPs globally that support us. Here are just some of the names. I can't share them all because there isn't a big enough slide. We are a truly global company. We work with partners around the world to help deliver our solutions and software and hardware. And that partner-led network is what really drives us to be a championing force within the industry. So that said, I think this is probably a good opportunity to move on and show you a little bit of how a remote signing operation works. To that end, I'm going to share my screen and run you through a signing operation and what SigningHub looks like. So we need to kind of take into account those diagrams and those flows that we saw earlier. If there's any questions, please put them into the chat. If I can pick them up as I'm doing this, I shall. If I don't see them in time, I will, of course, come back to them at the end. I will have a little bit of time to address those then. So as you can see, I'm connecting to our cloud system here for SigningHub. When I'm authenticating, we use our SigningHub ID as a default authentication mechanism, using an email address as a unique identifier for the system. There are, however, more login options out of the box. We also support Office 365. You could use LinkedIn, Salesforce, Google+. You've got SSL client authentication. Start using SAML as well. SAML authenticators. You could use Microsoft Active Directory, ADFS. Of different options available there for authentication. I'm more than happy to work with you to get those set up and running. For this demonstration, I'm going to just use my SigningHub identification or ID to log me in. So once I put in my username, it'll prompt me for my password, which I'm lucky enough that this will now auto-complete for me. I can choose to remember myself, but then I just simply log in. That's our first factor of authentication. If you'd like, you can have two factors of authentication there. Maybe you want to use an OTP code sent to a mobile device via an SMS, or you want to use Google Captcha or some sort of other second factor. There are lots supported. Please see our online documentation for more details. Once we've logged in, we're presented with our dashboard screen. It gives us a high-level overview of the amount of documents that we have pending, those that are in progress, the declined ones, and those we completed. This can all be rebranded. Obviously, this is with SigningHub colors, so we've got our logo and our fav icon here up at the top, and the name. We can change all of this. All of the color schemes can be amended to meet your organizational requirements. Potentially using this either as a standalone application, or you might go for an integration option where you can actually embed this page as an iframe within your existing business application or site. And once you do that rebranding, obviously it becomes quite difficult to actually see that it's then an Ascertia product. It becomes your own. It's all very nicely integrated into what you have. I can control my signature images here by changing them, drawing, uploading a new signature, if I say choose. There are lots of other settings here as well where I can amend my personal info, things like my mobile phone number, my job title. These again can be imported through from the Active Directory or whatever sort of registration process you have for your users. Get some high-level information as well about the users that are logged in, the top signers and things like that. I am an enterprise administrator here. So I see a little bit more information about users and templates and the rebranding side of things too. Let's have a look at a new workflow. So when I'm doing a new workflow, there are some options. I could do an only me. That's if I want to sign a document and no one else needs to. I could do a me and others. So it's where I want to sign and send that out to other people internally or externally to sign, or just others if I want other people to sign and I have no part in the signing process. What I'm going to do today is demonstrate a me and others signing process. When I click that, it's going to give me an option to upload a document. In uploading a document, I can either do that from my device. Okay, it may be a document that's preloaded into SigningHub, in which case I could access that from the document library. We also have integrations into Google, Dropbox, and OneDrive as well, so you can upload documents from there. Now, when I've uploaded my documents, I may want to add additional documents. I can certainly do that here as well. I could upload secondary documents as we go through. Okay, so there's maybe a chain of documents. We could also add attachments as well later on in the process. Once we've got that document loaded, we start to look at our workflow. So here you can see, because I started it, I did me and others, it's automatically added me in with my internal account, my Ascertia account, and I can select the role of which I would like to do. So in this case, it's going to be signer, but we also could have me set as maybe a reviewer. So I'm checking the contents of a document before it goes out. Maybe I need to edit it. Maybe at the end of the process, the document needs to go to a finance team or an HR team or something like that. So we could just send them a copy. Here we go though, we start adding in additional users. You see here, I'm going to add in myself again, but this will be my Gmail account, so replicating an external user. So we're both going to sign this document. I'm going to ask the external user to sign first. Okay, and then I will sign afterwards because I'm using a serial workflow. So it's going to follow this order of events. We can also set it to parallel, in which case the order disappears and any signer can access and sign that document in whatever order they need to or would like to. And we also have the ability to do an individual workflow too. So each signer would get their own copy of the document. They would all sign that individually. You'd get one document back per user or per signer. There's also the option to do custom. And custom can be a complete mixture of the previous three. So you may have the first two people signing in serial. Maybe the next couple of signers can all sign in whatever order they would like. And then at the end, you want someone to sign an individual copy and it will be shared out. So we can do that how we see fit in terms of the order and the role in which they're going to take within the documents. If we've got users that we don't know their identity at the time that we're uploading the document, we can add placeholders in, which obviously need to be completed as the signing process progresses and updated with signer information in order for it to go to them. We have permissions for each person as well. These can be set as everyone, or they can be set individually, maybe controlling people's ability to print the document or download it, allow them to add text or change recipients. Maybe in this case, I don't want the external user to do any of this, but I do want them to agree to a legal terms and notice. And as I said earlier in the presentation, that action is going to be recorded. Once we've set our permissions, we can check our document access security. We can control the security for individuals or for everyone. Again, maybe using a password or an OTP code in order to be able to access the document, or maybe just setting the document access duration. So we set that via a date and time, from a to and from date and time, or via a quantity of days. Once we're happy with our workflow, we can progress through. The document will be rendered. You saw I uploaded a Word document. We rendered that into PDF, converted it automatically. And we now get to set and sign our signature fields. So in this case, for my external user, I'm going to be using an electronic signature. Replace that and then resize it so that we're happy with where it goes. We can add additional fields in, maybe things like name and the date. And then for our internal signer, I'm going to use a digital certificate. Again, resizing this all out so it's happy and you know where you want it. Okay, placing all the fields as and where you want them. Once that's done, if it's a document that you're going to reuse again and again, you can actually save this as a template and it can be repurposed. So you don't have to go through the placement of the fields and the lining them up each time. You can save time and admin effort doing that. Once it's done, we're going to share that document. So by clicking share now, you'll see within the SigningHub system, yeah, I have a new document that's pending. All right, rephrase that, in progress. Yeah, I can see the next action is going to be Geoff Bartlett and my Gmail. And after that, so both of these actions are still pending, but it's on me. I can send reminders out to people as well. If we have a look at my Gmail account, we will see that I've received a notification for signing this document. As an external user, I can click on the link, which contains a pre-authorized token. That's going to sign me in. It's going to show me the document with the little kind of physical tabs that we would see on a normal physical document. It'll take me down to the point where I need to sign. It'll ask me to confirm the different boxes. Of course, I can just go through and consent. I have to do the legal notice. It's recorded that action. I then get the choice of using a text signature, using a font. Maybe I want to draw one in, yeah, or upload an image. But by choosing sign now, I'm going to sign with an electronic signature. I can review that electronic signature. It's going to do verification on it internally within the system. It's going to tell me that I've signed that and it's been witnessed using an electronic signature. It's time-stamped as well. And I can see the cryptographic information around that certificate that's been bound to that later on and lower down in the signature details. Once I've signed that, it's going to go through to the second user. Okay, and that is my internal user. And this is where I can show you the remote authorized signing, the access to the digital certificate keys that are held within the HSM appliance. So we have a look here. We obviously refresh that. Apologies, my internet at home isn't particularly quick. So you can see here I now have a document pending. I can open that document. I can see the signature of the external signer, and I can start to sign this myself. So I'm going to use a digital signature. When I click on the digital signature side of things, again, I'm given those same options around using text, drawing, or uploading an image. I've got two settings, two sets of authentication here. So I'm going to authenticate again using my SigningHub ID. And when I click sign now, I will send a push notification to my mobile device telling me that I have a new document signature that needs to be authorized. If I click on that, it will automatically open the SigningHub application. I'll be prompted for my biometrics to open the app and then be able to check against this, the document ID, the document name, who it was shared by, and I'll be able to authorize that. It requires me to present my biometric details, which I've just done on my mobile device. And what that's doing now is going back, communicating with the PKI infrastructure and the HSM. It's allowing the release of my private key and it's allowing it to be used within that signing operation. You see there, that's authorized. In the document, we now get my signature. Again, you can see the second signature. It's done that validation on it to make sure that it's exactly how it should be. And if we have a look at the details here, you can see this time, rather than in the first case where I'm using an electronic signature, that basic e-seal, this time I'm using an advanced qualified digital signature, and it's coming using my own private key and my own certificate. That's the signing process. Obviously, at that point, a user could download the document, share that, store it in another repository. We can have a look at the workflow history. Okay, she's going to show us when it was uploaded, what actions were taken by different people at different stages. But maybe more importantly, once we finish that, we can look at our completed documents, and we will be able to download what we refer to as the workflow evidence report. This comes, as we said, as a PDF or an XML document. It's signed, so it can't be altered or tampered with. And this is our legal compliance. So what this is going to show us is the name of the document, the hash of the document, which is very important, proves that the document hasn't been changed or tampered with. It will show us the workflow summary. So the fact that it was a serial workflow, the different signers, when it was shared, completed, how long the process took. And then we get details around each recipient to show them what actions they've taken. So I've signed it. It shows me where I've logged in from, the browser or the device that I was using, the type of signature that I've applied, and the details of the certificate as well. Likewise, for the second recipient, I've got all that same information. This time though, because I had additional authorization, it's showing me my primary and secondary authorization methods. So you see here, I logged in via and used my SigningHub ID to begin with, and then I provided authorization via the mobile app to allow access to those private keys to be used within the signing operation, which has meant I've been able to use my qualified signature to sign that. At the end of it, we have an audit trail. And if we've used the legal terms and notice, obviously all of the details here around that. So we can see here that that legal notice was accepted, and we can see the details that were contained within that legal notice. That is your compliance and evidence report. I hope you found this useful. If there are any questions, please feel free to put them into the chat, and I will do my best to answer them. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, George. I think we got some questions in the chat box, in the question box.
Yes, I can see them. Okay. So the first question is, can I use for a user authentication the SafeNet Trusted Access from Thales? It's based on SAML 2. The simple answer to that, for authentication into the SigningHub, yes, we support SAML 2. Yes, you could use that SafeNet Trusted Access provided by Thales. The second question, we have many Luna 7 HSMs deployed in customer hands, and they would like to do qualified remote signing. Are you working on ADSS certification together with Luna 7.7 at the back end? Again, the answer to that is yes. We are currently working with Thales, okay, to support all of the different HSMs. Depending on the type of signing operation you need or you want to do, and depending on the level of certification the HSM has, they can be used to varying degrees within the remote signing procedure in order to gain that kind of common criteria standard. So obviously, if you're going to use a common criteria, you want common criteria certification, you would like to become a QTSP and do advanced qualified remote signing, you would need an HSM that has common criteria certification, and you need to use a SAM service and RAS service that has also gone through that certification process, of which obviously, yeah, the ADSS, RAS and SAM services have both gone through, and you can see that on the OTSI website. Are there any additional questions? Did that cover off those questions? I explained that clearly. If you want any more detail, obviously we're available to be for the next few minutes for any extras that come in. Alternatively, obviously, yeah, you can contact Thales or Ascertia directly. We'd be more than happy to discuss any sort of requirements that your business have. Talk through the existing solution you have, how you want to move across, and how we can achieve that, helping you design the best, possibly the most secure solution possible for your particular needs. I'll leave it open to questions. If there are any more, I'm more than happy to answer them.
Okay, it seems we don't have we don't have more question. I've thank you for the audience to submitting your question, and Geoff also have clear answers. Thank you again, everyone, for joining the webinar today. I would like to thank Geoff for the great presentation. Please take a few moments to us what you think about our webinar by rating it and giving us your feedback on this webinar via the ratings tab below the player window. If you really enjoyed the webinar, please share the webinar link on the social media with the hashtag Thales Crypto Summit. Also, remember to download the attachments that are available with today's webinar. And finally, do visit the Thales Crypto Summit landing page to see all of our webinars that are available to you. Again, thank you for joining us today.